One. Today we are talking about Star Wars Solo Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Mason refuses to learn the names.
We are joined today by a good friend of ours, Jamie.
Hi.
And our sponsor today
That's all, I'm sorry.
is it the cannabis oh god, what was that?
Sunday Scaries.
Is it the Sunday Scaries?
It's like a CBD gummy or something. I don't have an ad read for that.
Okay.
I can do Roman swipes again.
Do Roman swipes.
Our podcast brought to you by Roman Swipes. Jamie.
Yes.
Are you having trouble in bed?
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah, dude, of course.
Well,
Have you met me?
I've got a product for you.
Okay.
It's called Roman Swipes.
Yeah.
Convenient over-the-counter wipes, clinically proven to help you last longer in bed.
And how do they work, Brandon?
Just apply Roman Swipes to the most sensitive parts of your penis. Wait
Uh-huh.
5 minutes to dry, and you're ready to go.
5 whole minutes?
5 whole minutes.
All right,
That's not very long at all.
But Brandon, these things have to be expensive. Are we talking $100, $200, $500?
No. In fact, you can get started for $22 a month on a quarterly plan.
Okay, but I have to go to my local convenience store to get them, right? I'm going to be so embarrassed.
I don't know how much longer I can keep this bit up.
Of course, at this point, you're like one subscriber has just left.
Did they even sub?
He said
Did they even follow?
they follow, but then they said corporate shill.
Did they really sub, or
did
they
they
just
actually
give us
say
that
that?
one free sub they get with their Amazon Prime subscription?
we do not have the followers to begin to offer subscriptions.
I should have turned my Twitch channel over to you.
We could have stolen yours. Okay. So we open up in a galaxy far, far away, and then I think for the first time, because Solo didn't have a crawl, but it had at least written words. We cut right to an unknown planet.
Yeah.
I said this time I want to bring attention. I told Jamie about this earlier. I just realized that under the options when you're watching Disney Plus, for audio there's English, Espanol, and English audio description, and it turns the movie into an audiobook.
Yeah, like it's a description for blind people.
Yeah, but it is like they describe the characters. Like it's not an automated. Like someone sits down and it does this.
Yeah, like someone writes it. Like someone reads it.
Yeah, and I am going to be watching the rest of the movies like this because I thoroughly enjoyed. I have the scene where Darth Vader shows up at the end written out to what the English audio description says.
Huh.
And as long as we plug Blue Apron somewhere in the middle of there, we won't get sued for copyright infringement. But we have a ship landing on an unknown planet. We have a girl running away from there, and I talked about this with Solo. It's just I guess it's a type of storytelling I don't like. I don't like starting so early to where we're gonna have a time skip. It's just something to me that I don't know. It takes me out of it because we know, from the trailer and everything else, we know who Jen is. We know that she's going to be our main character, and here she's a little girl, and so we're obviously going to have some kind of time skip. And so we get introduced to Saul, Forrest Whitaker, whose character is probably criminally underutilized in this film, as the family starts panicking. So open it up. What do you guys think about this opening that we're experiencing right now?
It's a good time to talk about like what I think are like the movie's strengths, or like the movie's fine kind of across the board in the sense that it's not like the prequels where like the filmmaking is okay in these movies. Like the performances are all pretty well acted. It's well shot, at least in the sense that the filmmaking is competent and there's like motivated camera movement and it's not all reverse shot. The sets look good. They look like movies that have had billions of dollars and effort pushed into them. So yeah, I guess that's really the only thing I have to talk about the beginning of the film. Mads Mikkelsen is giving a good turn. Ben Mendelsohn is really good in this movie. He's probably the best character.
Yeah.
It's also like I wanted to bring up. This is probably also a good time to talk about it. Even though the cinematography is fine, it has sort of like Marvel movie cinematography where they don't do anything interesting with it. Like there is interesting stuff in the like choreography and in some of the special effects, but in the actual cinematography itself, there's nothing really. It's all shot very presentationally. It's almost all wides on some sort of Steadicam. I think the transition that was made back to like film and shooting these films on 70 millimeter instead of on digital like the prequels was a good idea. Film just looks better, in my opinion. That's really all I have to say, I guess.
Brandon, Joe, any thoughts about how this movie starts out?
From my point of view, I definitely like. I think where I'm opposite of you on this, Mason, is I like kind of being thrown in the middle of this to where you have a little bit of backstory to go off of, and kind of an idea of, a starting point to where now you're gonna see why, like you're kind of making a trip backwards to that starting point to get a full understanding. And I do find that intriguing. I think it kind of grabs my attention to a movie.
I will say, I do agree with Joe on that point. This is a movie that doesn't have a lot of scenes. A lot of the moments in this movie are just characters kind of moving from place to place, prattling exposition at each other. But this is one of those scenes where we get to see two characters. Mads Mikkelsen's character, I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. I watched the movie like 2 hours ago and I still don't remember it.
Talking about Garen?
Yeah, whatever his name is. Urso.
Just remember,
Galen Urso.
just remember his name is the name of Starkiller.
Okay. And him and Krennic, they have like an interesting character dynamic, and we get to see that established, and we get to see some of Jyn Erso's motivations established. Like, I think this is actually one of the film's better scenes.
I like the colors, I like the lighting, I like the costumes. I like the Death Troopers.
Competently shot.
Yeah, I like all of that. It's just I don't know. It's to me like, imagine if we had watched when we watch A New Hope, if the first part of that is Obi-Wan dropping off a baby, and then we go forward to teenage Luke.
Well, that is a storytelling device. Like, that's how Harry Potter starts.
Wait till we get to the Harry Potter movies.
Your virtual only other option in this scenario is to do flashbacks intermittently throughout the movie.
I wouldn't even do
so
flashbacks. I just have it picks up and right after the timeline, and then it's just Jyn Erso defending, my father wasn't a traitor, just that. And so that's all we go off of until we get introduced to Garen, and we kind of have to decide for ourselves, is she just liking her father, or is her father actually a noble guy? But
I see.
You gotta think too. This is the last time she sees her father. So.
Right.
My issue with that is
she sees him. I think she sees him when he's dying.
Yeah, film is it's an inherently visual medium, and the more of the story you can actually show to the audience rather than have it exposited to them through dialogue, the better. It is more interesting if we see Galen Erso on screen and we see him give up Jyn and we see those circumstances rather than having Jyn kind of say, "Hi, I'm Jyn Erso. My dad left me behind. Now I'm looking for him." Like, it's just a better way to tell that story.
Yeah, I mean, oldest trick in the book, show don't tell.
Yeah,
right.
Which
we're
going to get to that later on in this movie.
I could agree with that. I would prefer. I don't know. Anyway, just differences, really.
I get what you're saying. Stories should start where they're interesting, as opposed to, stories should start at the start as opposed to where they're most interesting. But I don't know.
What you have here is a clear prologue. It's
right.
like an itty bitty short film before the actual movie starts.
And this, I think this scene is pretty good. It's one of the better scenes in the film.
Jyn sees her mom get shot.
Yeah.
For pulling a blaster onto Krennic. She runs back away. Krennic is shown by saying they have a child, find it. Kind of a dehumanizing. Jen goes and hides, and she is rescued by Forrest Whitaker's character and
Saw Gerrera.
Saw Gerrera. Yeah, Saw Gerrera. And then Rogue One theme music playing. Da, 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 da. And that's where we're going to cut to present day.
Yeah, this is basically where the movie actually starts.
Yeah.
So we awaken with water dropping on a early 20s teenager, late teenager, mid 20s.
Almost 30-year-old Felicity Jones.
Felicity Jones just hanging out. She doesn't. We learn she is racist against aliens by how she looks at the alien next to her, and she doesn't talk to any aliens for the rest of the film. So I thought that was a subtle nod at white supremacy in America.
Lucasfilm and their SJW fucking bullshit.
Oh my god.
I am being hyperbolic for comedic effect
I would definitely fucking hope so.
So we find out she's on the Ring of Kafrene, which is a trading outpost, which looks visually interesting. It's built inside of one or two asteroids, and I'm guessing it has some kind of like alternative gravity and atmosphere and stuff. So that's pretty cool. It's shown to be kind of seedy, kind of more of a black market than a bazaar. We get introduced to, oh man, I wish I could remember this dude's name. Brandon, they're making a series about him.
Cassian Andor.
Okay.
Castian Andor.
Okay. Cassian Andor, and he's meeting someone, and they gotta hurry, and you can tell they're kind of skeevy, and then they get interrogated by stormtroopers, and we see Cassian Andor kill his contact, even though we know he is a member of the rebellion, which is probably going to start out my favorite thing about this movie is that the rebels are not white knight good guys.
Why is the good guys about to be white knight?
Hey
man, why the good guys gotta be white? I do actually agree with you there. And can I elaborate for a second
Of course,
on that?
of course, you are more than welcome to.
So there's going back to Marvel, and I kind of have to talk about the Marvel films because with Disney kind of overseeing both of these projects, there's been a lot of similarities in how the films are handled. There is a storytelling, device called bathos that is in a lot of the Marvel films where the characters will continually have humor and quip even in the face of really, really dire circumstances.
Correct, yeah.
And I will say that one thing this scene establishes very well, and one thing that I like about the movie is there's not a lot of bathos in this movie. It's the characters are for the most of the film in pretty dire circumstances, and there is humor in this movie. There are humorous characters, but it doesn't really come from a good example of bathos is in Thor Ragnarok. In that movie, Thor loses his father. He loses his kingdom. He's physically deformed and scarred. He's spends a bunch of time as a slave on another planet, and for most of the film he's happy about it. He's having a pretty good fucking time. Whereas in this movie, I appreciate that. I think that's a cool little thing in this film's favor. Is that when the characters
seem high.
Yes.
Yeah, when the characters are in dire straits, they always seem grounded in the moment.
Yeah, and it's mostly because they have K2SO to lean on as a non-human character.
Right,
Yeah,
he is the humor.
I like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like that character a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the strongest parts of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that dynamic, yeah. And so we're going to cut to Jeddah, which it was only this rewatch that I was like, Jeddah, that's pretty close to Jedi.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
What color is Yoda's
Mind
blood?
blown.
I don't know, green?
And there's statues of people in robes and shit, and it's just okay. I'm picking up what you're putting heavily down that I didn't get the first time movie.
Remind me when we get to the part where Jin and Cassian are actually on Jeddah. I have something to say about how this movie handles exposition. When we actually get there, it just reminded me of this, and I don't want to forget it because that was one of the big problems I have with it. But I don't want to say it out of turn, I guess.
Okay. We get a meeting between the rebel group, or like I don't think we even know the rebels at this point, but it's aliens and it's a pilot, a defector.
Yeah.
And he's looking for Saul Guerrera. So okay, so he's defecting from the Empire. He's coming to the Republic, and it's like, hey, come here, and they take him, and then we cut to Wobani, everyone's 48th favorite planet in the Star Wars universe.
This is my biggest, like, I hate the first, like, 20 minutes of this movie because of all the
Scene changing.
Yeah, there's no character it's centered on.
Right.
Yeah.
It feels like there would be a way to naturally begin to add them through the narrative of one character, but they just kind of said, fuck it, we have to introduce them all. Let's do little setup scenes, kind of like Suicide Squad did.
Oh, wow. Okay, I can't unsee that now.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to unsee.
This is my least favorite part of the movie is, like, the last half of this movie I think is great. But the first 20 minutes was super rough, even in the theater the first time.
Yeah.
The last 5 minutes of this movie is the greatest thing Star Wars has ever seen.
We'll get to that at the end. Go ahead.
And I will not come off of that opinion.
I
Ever.
like I said, I have the. We're gonna do this. We're gonna. Whoa.
Can you guys see me okay?
Talking, testing. It's coming back through your mic, Jamie.
What do you mean it's coming back through the mic? Like it's echoing?
Somebody else talk.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had to switch to my phone because my laptop died.
I'm thinking that the audio part of your phone picks up the speaker part.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like that would make sense. Let me go to voice settings real quick. I could hit push to talk. That would probably fix it.
Probably.
We can try. Testing. Nope.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm gonna let it go, and then someone else talk, and then see if they can.
Testing. Okay, that seems to work.
Cool.
We just have to be careful we don't speak at the same time.
What did I miss? We were talking about how there's like not a lot. There's no characters that the film is really set.
Right. It's like Jen Erso is supposed to be the main character, and she kind of is. But for the first half hour, you can kind of barely tell without the prelude. I feel like the prelude was added on there for the reason.
I would agree. There's also one thing I wanted to point out about that is her character doesn't. There isn't a moment where we see her confronted with something and then she actively makes a choice to side with the rebellion and to get this done. She's sort of forced into it, and that's kind of what.
You might have to go charge your laptop or something, Jamie.
Jamie, why are you so sad?
See if I can switch to another computer.
Okay. While we wait, we have no other sponsors. So, make sure you follow us on Twitch, follow us on Twitter, check out our Patreon. Go over to our Black People
Follow
Meet.
me on Mixer.
Follow Joe Jokes on Mixer. Follow the B-Dan Abstract on YouTube Live Gaming.
Follow him on Twitter for all your Braves news as well.
Right.
There you go.
So
I know things before they happen. Unfortunately.
like, comment, and subscribe on the video. What's your favorite Rogue One moment? Be sure to tell us in the comments that we're not going to read or reply to, and we only ask you to do this so that we get on YouTube's algorithm. And a shameless, selfish ploy.
I'm not ashamed.
Okay, well, as long as we're not ashamed. So Jen, while we're waiting on Jamie, it gets... Oh.
I'm just teasing.
Okay.
Keep going.
So Jen gets broken out of her movable little prison shuttle. She gets
Being rescued. Please do not resist.
Yep. Funny line. We get introduced to the humor droid. Then Jen gets brought before the rebels at Barristan Selmy, and which I did not realize he was in this until upon the rewatch. And I was like, oh, that's a pleasant surprise. She gets her charges read to her. Oh, she's a bad person. And then Mon Mothma comes in, and they're like, okay, you're Jyn Erso's daughter. What's your political opinions? And she's like, I don't have political opinions. And so they're going to use...
She's a libertarian.
Yeah, she's a libertarian. She's an anarchist. And they say that Saw Gerrera is an extremist. So he broke off from the rebels. Which is kind of curious, because I feel like in this movie, Saw Gerrera shows a little bit more restraint than the rebels are going to show towards like civilians, or towards like ordering attacks or ordering assassinations, which we've already seen one. They find out there's an Imperial defector on Jedha, that Saw Gerrera, he's looking for him. The power to destroy entire planets. Talk. And your history, they're like, oh, we'll let you go free if you go do this mission. And she's like, silently looks at him. And we cut to, they're walking, they're getting all loaded up. And we get to, as they're loading up, meet our humor droid again, who gives her a little quip saying it's not a good idea, everyone thinks it's a bad idea. And Cassian gets told there's not going to be any extraction. You find him, you kill him. So I like the darker rebellion side. I like that this is war or espionage or subterfuge. This is not, ride in on a stallion and save everybody. Good. So it is a little wordy. There was a lot of dialogue, a lot of exposition, but setting everything up. But and it felt a little fan servicey with Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
No, she would be there at this time, though. It makes sense.
Yeah, like her character being there isn't necessarily a problem, but you do bring up a good point. There's a lot of unnecessary nostalgia in this movie. Like a few scenes later, they run into the guys who attack Luke in the bar, and it does absolutely nothing to further the.
I hate that. Is like the worst fan service moment I think Star Wars has ever done.
There's another one where the one where C-3PO and R2-D2 show up isn't as bad, because they just deliver a throwaway line, but at least everyone knows who those characters are. And the Mon Mothma was fine because her character is there actually furthering the events of the story.
Mm-hmm.
The issue I was going to bring up that I have with this part of the film in particular is, again, the film's thesis, its whole theory, its whole, what it's trying to say seems to be that you should care about political causes and you stand up for what you believe in. And I feel like that would have been way more effective if we had seen Jyn do that. But instead, they're like, we're going to force you to do this. You have to do this. Now go on this plot. And there's never a moment in the film where the characters really make a choice about what they're going to do. It feels like they don't really have much agency. They just kind of go from place to place to place as the plot demands it. And this is where that really starts.
Well, I think the third act is them making a choice. It is them taking. You're right. It should be. You got to take your off push your talk. Okay, there you go. But I think. It should be set up earlier, but we do get a little bit of that in the third act.
I would agree. I mean, I think the third act's pretty good. I think it's the best part of the movie.
Yeah. We cut back to Jedha, where the defector pilot, we meet Saw Gerrera in person, who's got a little mask, and I just want to let you know the audio description for this is he takes a hit, and then you hear. And so if I might call it an oxygen mask. I was like, if you're just listening to it, it's like, what is he taking a hit of while he's just... And they say that he's going to go to Bor Gullet, which is like this alien creature that can is a tentacle thing. So that's a...
It was also referenced in The Mandalorian.
Right. Like they'd set out to plan and do.
Yeah. It's like they meant to do it.
We cut to a Star Destroyer overseeing the construction of the Death Star. And then we get CGI Grand Moff Tarkin.
This is
Go ahead.
like he looked awful in the theater when we saw it. It is aged so poorly. It is so uncanny. It's like there are real people in the room, and then the camera goes to this fucking PlayStation 4 character model.
Yeah. It's bad. Like, it would have been fun if they did it for a little bit.
Jamie, you got to take your thing off push to talk. There you go.
Jamie.
Go ahead, Brandon.
But yeah, like if they would have just put him in for like, a few moments, it probably would have been fine. But they spend so much time showing him,
Yes.
like up close and personal in the camera,
And you can tell like something's wrong with his eyes. Like if whatever gets close, there's just nothing.
Oh my God, Rocky, is that your face?
Autumn described it as like watching people talk to someone who has dementia, and I think that's pretty. Saying it word, but you can tell there's no real human connection there. It's better than CGI Leia in The Rise of Skywalker, but not by much.
I think it's better than CGI Leia in this movie.
See, CGI Leia, she's never on screen with anybody else.
But after that little scene, we're going to get a flashback of Jin and Garen and God, what's his name? What's his name? What's the bad guy? Antagonist's name?
Krennic.
There it is. Yeah, just got a little flashback to them and going a little party, getting the necklace. She she comes back. Oh, that was good. Came back in time. They're gonna land on the planet, and I think we were able to see like some statues of Jedi. You're able to see like a temple. They kind of go scout it out. The Star Destroyer is resting above the city, which is a cool shot. I like that. Star Destroyer just kind of hovering. I think this is one of the few times we see them in a planet's atmosphere. No, they get loaded on in Episode 3. Clone Trooper get loaded onto them in Episode 3. Or 2, at the end of 2. Okay. But so they're taking out Kyber crystals, which is the fuel for the Death Star and what Jedis use to make their lightsaber.
I have a point I wanted to make. Because this is where I sort of noticed that the film has an exposition problem, and it goes back to the whole show don't tell thing, where like I can't remember who it is. I know there's a character that explains why the Kyber crystals are important, and there's a reason that this action is taking place on. But we're never shown it. Like we're never actually shown the reason why.
Right.
And by the end of the whole sequence, I knew that the Kyber crystals were there and there was something to do with them, but I had completely forgotten the reason why they were important. There was never any sort of visual link. It was just sort of a throwaway line.
Yeah. There is I think it's the Asian character who.
Tarut,
Is that his name?
the blind guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
And then we cut back to Boric Gullet feeling thoughts and being all tentacly and gross. So that's kind of a drag. But then we cut to a bizarre kind of area where there's different races of aliens and different droids, and these two just so happen to bump into this guy and pig guy and spider face dude.
just hanging out here.
Yeah, I wonder where they're going next. Maybe Tatooine. I'm glad we do not go to Tatooine in this movie. And then we find out that the Empire is offering 600 credits for the pilot, which I feel like's low. I feel like that's a low amount. What is the conversion factor? Does anybody know what 600 credits can buy you?
That's probably online. Like, somebody's probably done that.
We'll look into it. The temple's destroyed, so they're looking into finding Saul's sister, I think. We get a little line, rebellions are built on hope. Stormtroopers are bothering. And then we get introduced to Chirrut, Chirrut. How you say his name?
So I looked it up. One Republic credit is worth about $1.30.
So approximately $800.
Yeah.
I thought that's a low. I thought it's a low amount.
That is a pretty low amount. The fucking Empire.
You're building a
Jeff
Death Star.
Bezos would definitely pay like a couple million for that.
We're turning into fucking CinemaSins here. Like, I feel like the monetary.
That's a CinemaSin. Ding.
I'll be damned if I turn into those guys.
We're not. We're better than them.
Are we?
Yes, because there's multiple voices talking.
Okay, that's.
We have them beat on quantity of people talking. Chirrut's May the Force be with others, and this is probably one of the things I really hate about this movie is the ubiquitousness of the Force. Because while Solo, I feel like, doesn't really touch on it, this movie is so much more like I in a later scene when all the rebel pilots are taking off to go do their mission, the intercom says, "May the Force be with you."
Yeah, I was wondering. I was going to ask someone about this. At this point, the Jedi are gone, as far as anyone's concerned. Every trace of their religion basically is gone. Leia has no clue she is, Force sensitive or even, comes from anywhere. Yada yada yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so what context do they have to say that?
Well, like if in Revenge of the Sith, the senators who are like starting the rebellion, we see that they seem pretty keen on protecting the Jedi. Like all of the rebel leadership, like Bail Organa and Mon Mothma, was all there when the Jedi fell, and they seem to have some sort of admiration. And then again, in A New Hope, Admiral Akbar delivers a line. He's like, "May the Force," or that might be Return of the Jedi actually, but he delivers a line where he's like, "May the Force be with you."
Yeah.
So it just seemed like it turned into like I just assumed that it was like kind of a rallying cry for the rebel cause. I didn't really make too much of it.
It seems like to me it's just fan service because in Episode 4 the Force is this it's nonsense, it doesn't exist, and the Jedi are wizards type thing, and so when you hear it over here, it feels like it's a lot more mainstream than how it's supposed to be portrayed.
I guess that does make sense the way you're putting it. That is kind of good storytelling on their part.
But it's just, like I said, just my dumb opinion because they're going to go, and this is where the exposition is a little bit, Jamie, that you talk about, where they explain, oh, the Kyber crystals, what are they? You know what they're for? My father said that they're used to power a Jedi's lightsaber. Oh, they're
There is that, but there was also something more. Like the Empire they needed the Kyber crystals for something. Like there was a reason the Empire was going to Jeddah, and they were like taking the Kyber crystals. They like explain that, but we never see them do it or see or hear why ever again. I just thought it was kind of.
Yeah. But then rebellions start shooting people, start attacking a little tank that's coming through. There's a little big firefight. We see Cassian shoot a stormtrooper, and he ends up shooting a rebel, too, who's about to throw a grenade. Where Jin's at? Excuse me. Jin rescues a little kid, because we have to be reminded that she's a good person, I guess.
Yep. And she will... Well, it's more like she sees a little girl in distress, and...
She sees herself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of wants to hopefully save someone from what she had to go through.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, like the movie, the characters are very thin in this film, but that part I think is a good example of how the characters are developed well in some instances. Like we see the characters do a lot of cool, heroic, self-sacrificing stuff, and even though they never really have a lot of interaction with each other or really like have any agency in the plot. We do get to see them. We basically see all the characters do something that's either cool or something that's funny, and I guess that was like they thought that would be enough for the audience to like them and care about watching them die.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I've brought this up several times, but in this kind of movie, which is clearly like a sort of like Kurosawa riff, Magnificent Seven, sort of this gang of random people who don't really like each other or get along, coming together to do something noble.
Like Suicide Squad.
Sort of. And whatever fucking David Ayer's coked out brain.
Movies respecting you.
Yeah, so it's like these characters are, they're not supposed to be like characters you're gonna love for the rest of your life, So
Right.
I'm not like too mad at the movie for having thinner characters. That's kind of what I expected walking into it.
Okay. But during this scuffle, we see Jen like just destroy a platoon with a baton. And then she turns around and shoots, and looks like she shoots our favorite droid, and he falls over. But nope, he's behind him, and he's like, "Did you know that wasn't me?" I remember laughing. I actually really enjoyed that little misdirection.
I do have to thank this movie for opening my eyes to the fact that armor does nothing.
Yes.
That if you just have a stick and you're fucking good with a stick, then you can beat anybody up in armor. Fuck armor, it's useless.
Well,
All you need is a goddamn.
actually, the armor protects against blasters, and so it is ineffective against concussive force.
Protects against blasters. We see stormtroopers get shot through it all the time.
Well, that's because it's a lower grade of palladium armor that was only around from 68 ABY to 3400 ABY. When you read the extended monologues of a drunk person's legal pad scribble notes that he's put on Instagram, it kind of illuminates everything.
It's not really a huge issue. It's only a nitpick. I just thought it was funny how like
Right.
a girl with a fucking stick is able to take out like a platoon of just.
Or we're going to see later, and just right now, a blind man with a stick is about to just go.
He's like dodging bullets.
Yes.
He knows Jesus, okay? He
yeah.
knows Jesus.
He knows Jesus. He might be Jesus a little bit, because he's going to just dodge and just whoop like a solid 14 troopers, and then he's going to make troopers who have guns run towards him, get in his range, and then that's where they're going to throw the little rifle at people in. He's just going to disarm them.
As much as
No,
we're making
that's
fun,
called the script.
as much as we're making fun of this, the action scenes are like they're like finely choreographed and fun to watch and stuff. It's just it does get a little.
Yeah, it's the believability of this scene, because I mean it is well shot. It is. I mean it's cool. You see him like use the stick, and he's like defending himself against one of them with the blasters, and he's just shooting his buddy. But then you see every now and then you see one of the stormtroopers run up to him with a gun, and then that's when he gets him. You could have just stayed far away or something, or just little things like that. But yeah, he just 3, 6, 8, at least 10 troopers go down, and then his buddy. I do not know this character's name. With the blaster that's hooked up to like a pack on his back.
Chirrut?
No, this isn't Chirrut.
Baze?
Yeah, that's his fucking name.
Baze shoots like eight shots simultaneously and kills the rest of them.
It's a minigun, so.
Yeah. Well, it's expertly aimed because only 8 blast shots come out, and 8 blast shots hit 8 guys.
Force.
My
favorite thing about the little fight scene is he at one point dodges one bullet and it hits the stormtrooper that's like conveniently right behind Cassian and Jin, and it's like, did he know it was going to hit that? Was he just going to let his friends take the bullet? Like,
maybe he's morally gray too, like the rest of our characters. Then they get ambushed by alien language, and it's. Hey, if anybody
Pushed by an alien language.
yeah, that's what the caption says was alien language. It's
They're speaking French at me. Oh no!
yeah, there's pretty bonjour. And then they're like, "I'm the daughter of Garen Orso," and they're gonna take him. And then the Star Destroyer mysteriously departs. Everyone's kind of like, "Hey, what's going on?" They get thrown into a cave. There's like a little Twilight dancing hologram, which I feel like is a callback to something. I don't know off the top of my head. Jen gets taken before I guess these are the extremists. These are considered like a Taliban, Al-Qaeda analog. It bothers him to know it's possible. I'm beginning to think the Force and I have different priorities. And then Jin meets Saul Saul Guerrera. God damn it, Saul Guerrera. Guerrera. That can't be right.
You did not watch Clone Wars, did you?
I did not.
God.
We're getting to Clone Wars after these.
Autumn and I have been watching it in a chronological order, and Jesus Christ, it's good, but like the amount of like hopping around you have to do to see all the episodes in order is.
You figure Disney Plus would release like a playlist or something.
Yeah.
But Saw Gerrera is a little bit more jaded when he's talking everything out to her. He eventually, I guess it's just him being a good actor. But there's kind of like a moment where it dawns on he's wondering if the Empire or maybe his former friends, the rebellions,
sent her to like spy on him. Yeah,
or to kill him.
It's a good scene. This is like this whole bit in Saw Gerrera's camp is one of the moments in the movie that I actually really like, because like I talked a lot before about how like most of the movie the scenes are just characters moving from point A to point B and exposing stuff to each other, but here between Jin and Saw and between Cassian and Chirrut and Baze, we actually see the characters begin to like divulge their worldviews to each other and interact and have a little bit of internal conflict that I think helps push the story forward. Plus, like Forrest Whitaker gives a really, really good turn in this movie as Saw. Like his performance his bit is really small, but it's pretty good.
Definitely memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really funny.
We cut back to the bridge of what the Star. I'm guessing one of the Star Destroyers, or I think we're actually on the Death Star, and they're going to do a single engine fire on the. And hang on one second, I wanted to. Where is it? One would hope that for sure, Lord Vader, I thought it'd be prudent to save you any potential embarrassment. Your concerns are hardly warranted. If saying it would only make it so. All Imperial forces have been evacuated, and I stand by to destroy the entire moon. That won't be necessary. Okay, so he is going to lie to Vader later on. Okay. I couldn't remember if Tarkin had ordered the Holy City will be enough for today. Oh, no.
Yeah, Tarkin.
Okay, so Tarkin. Okay, because when he snitches to Vader, he kind of says that it was Tarkin's idea to shoot it, and okay.
That is another thing I like about his Krennic's whole storyline is he's the one character in this film that you actually see make choices that affect what happens to him over the course of the story. Like weirdly enough, he has a lot more agency than the protagonist, because a lot of the story is about how his like sort of fall from grace, I guess, and you can really see like every little choice that he makes along the way. I think it's pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree that his choices. The N7 says hello there. Hello there. The N7. It's who?
Hello.
Isn't that? Wait, hold on. No, that's
Play Mass Effect.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Mass Effect related. Oh yeah.
I thought it was either Landon or Grayson, but I don't think either of them.
Who was it? Not what N7 was.
I don't know. It's just the N7's all I know. He follows 63 people follow them, but they have no videos. We miss you, N7. Come back to us.
Oh, he left?
I don't know. He just said hello there. So
General Kenobi.
seems a really weird thing to say when you plan on leaving. So we get a back on Jedha. We get a hologram, some exposition about there's a chance he programmed a flaw, calls her Stardust, and so I feel like this is believable a little bit. Like they would have built this thing without him, so he chose to build a flaw in it. And
yeah.
So I like that, and that he's still thinking of her and tells her where you got to go next. A little fetch questy, but
I do have like one interjection here. I do like the setup reminder payoff of all the scenes we see. You know, Galen refer to Jin as Stardust, and then how at the end the code for where the information is kept is called Stardust. I do like that. My one issue with it is like it does the Suicide Squad thing where like the audience is savvy, the audience has picked up on that, and when Jin says it's me, we know why it's her. They don't need to have her turn to look at Cassian and then be like, oh, I know it because it's me. Like, it just kind of takes the wind out of the moment's sails.
Right. If she had just had the revelation and done it.
Yeah.
I agree. Joe, what do you think about this whole since Jeddah is collapsing around us right now? How are you feeling right now?
Feeling like for the first time in my life I get to see the actual destructive capability of the Death Star on a surface level, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I'm Star Wars Gideon. I'm just Star Wars Giddy watching this shit.
We have what would be the right word? Solid Earth tidal waves. Like the power is causing Earth to become like water.
Worse than the destruction in that G.I. Joe movie with Channing Tatum.
Is that the one with the power went out? Were you with us?
Well, I don't know. They shot metal. Oh, I don't know if I was with you guys when I saw it, but they shot metal rods out of the satellites. Fuck Paris up. I remember that.
We were watching it in Albany, and right as the climax happened, like the bad guy goes to blow something up or whatever he's going to do, the power for the theater shut off. And I was like, wow, they really went the extra mile for this. And then it didn't come back on, and we had to leave. So I don't know how that movie ends. So I'm really looking forward to when we get to the G.I. Joe cinematic universe. That'll be shortly after the 400 other things I've signed us up for. They get to the ship.
Can't
they leave Forrest Whitaker behind because I'm guessing he's too slow in his armor. And he says he's not going to run anymore, but then he still comes to the door to see him off. So it's I don't know. I kind of wish he would have stuck around longer.
Save the rebellion, save the dream.
Yeah, and then he dies willingly. Oh well.
I'm done running.
This is an excuse. It feels like for someone to die. We see that it's the equivalent of a meteor hitting the planet as the remnants of the blast come through the ionosphere and they go through to space. And some of them.
That is a really gorgeous shot. It's just everything about it is really welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this movie is, as Jamie said earlier, very well shot. Like, I really like how a lot of the camera work is handled, and the effects. Like when we get to have we already got to the siege of the city? You can kind of sort of tell where the digital effects come in, but it's like almost unnoticeable, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is
we just went through the prequels where like every single thing was like highly noticeable.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the first movie that you guys that we've like in the order we've been watching them that I think has like looked really, really good. Like this is a good look.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely agree with that. And Tarkin's gonna take control of the Death Star, and so Krennic, who just wants the Emperor to know that he did good, kind of gets taken advantage of by the military hierarchy. And he says, "Oh, we'll see about that." Cassian sends a message to the rebellion saying that Jeddah's destroyed. They gotta double down. They have to kill Galen Erso. The pilot says that Galen's a good guy, and Jyn relays the message, but it's coming. She can only relay it secondhand because she actually doesn't have the message. And they're going to a Empire science research facility, and they have to navigate. They land, and God, what's his name? Blind guy.
Chirrut.
Yeah, he's gonna ask him if he looks like a killer, because the force gets dark around people who are about to kill. Okay, I'm fine. I'm weirdly fine with that.
Yeah, that doesn't really stand out to me. The bit in the scene that does is like it's another one of those instances where the characters, A, they don't really make the active choice to go there. They're kind of shoehorned along. And then B, like, so Cassian Andor makes the big decision not to kill Galen Erso.
Right.
Like, that's supposed to be his big healing.
But his choice doesn't matter because then Galen just gets killed anyway. Like,
I don't know. I don't really like it.
Yeah, we get told that his sniper or his rifle was in sniper configuration. We learn that the rebels are going to plan and hit an attack exactly where we're at. They all go walking out into the rain. I think Jen's like climbing a ladder while we see Garen Erso come out on the bridge. Talk to Krennic, and Krennic's going to threaten the entire research team until Erso comes forward and says it was him. This whole time, Cassian's struggling to take a shot, not take a shot before he finally doesn't kill Krennic, which you can still do.
it's like he decided he was killing no one today.
Which, I don't know. I felt like I still would have killed Krennic.
Yeah.
And then Krennic just slaps Erso instead of killing him right there.
Yeah.
The scene is like weirdly devoid of any sort of like conflict or tension. It's really, really.
The X-Wing show up, start shooting. Pew, pew, pew. They deploy the TIE fighters. There's a little aerial fight. Jen kind of rolls over to save her dad. But we learn that she's still... and then we get blind guy breathes in his hand, and then he fires a crossbow staff, and it takes down a TIE fighter.
Force, baby.
Which I'm not okay. I'm not okay with. I'm not okay with that scene. We see that Garen. I think Garen Erso is actually killed because of the rebel attack.
I can't really remember what happens. I think you're.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So
that was because he didn't kill them, but they didn't care if he lived or died, so they just bombed the shit out of it.
Yeah.
So some more moral grayness with the rebellion.
The rebels.
That's right. They show up. The droid rescues him, gets him on the ship. And they kind of make up. She said, "You're in shock. You went up there to kill him." Like, and she's mad at him for attempting to kill her father. But she's not. She's not mad
At the rebels who actually did it.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Those were Alliance spawn that killed them. Surely the rebellion will listen to you. And then, oh man, this might be a solid tie for my least favorite. We get a Mustafar scene.
Yeah, this scene.
Yeah. It shouldn't be a movie.
It's very fan servicey. This is actually, I think, the one bit in Krennic's story that just doesn't serve to further the plot at all. It's just we get a cool shot of.
Which
it's worth it.
Hearing him make that pun was no joke worth it. Like
It was worth it.
I got a kick out of the don't cheat on your aspirations.
It's sort of like, think of how much cooler it would be if he just shows up at the end. He
yes.
doesn't have the scene. Like,
Which I like seeing Vader in his tank, as the amputee burn victim type. I thought, that's a good expansion for the Vader Netflix series or whatever's going to happen here in the future. But man, I hate that pun so much. I
just love the idea of adding in be careful not to choke on your aspirations. Like, it's so fucking. I don't know. I gotta kick out of it.
I love it.
I
Fucking love it.
I gotta go with Joe here. Like I do like how Vader is kind of like charismatic and like hammy in this movie.
James Earl Jones's voice is starting to waver a little bit in his delivery. It's definitely not where the original trilogy's at. in terms of voice acting. At least to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I have
Lion King. Can't argue that, but he is getting old.
Oh yeah.
I think he sounded fine for the most part. I'd have to like really go back and listen to it.
It's rough, man. I listened to it earlier very closely. It's
yeah. He only has like a couple minutes of actual dialogue though, right? It's like 1 or 2 minutes of dialogue in this film, and for the most of it, he's just kind of.
It's just
not
that scene.
too much. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't speak again.
Yeah, I guess that's probably why I didn't notice it. So I definitely have to go back and listen, because if that is the case, that's pretty sad. Because his voice was like one of the things that was great about his acting.
Oh yeah, it's iconic. But
Yeah,
it's just ravages of
he's
time.
got to be mid-80s now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an old man.
He did so many good
me
things.
and my wife watched him in an episode of House. He was a African dictator.
Oh,
And
that's
he
cool.
looked old in that, and that was almost 10 years ago, or 10 years ago that he did that.
Did that. Jeez. There is, while we're talking about Vader, I do consistently love every shot that he's in. They make a really bold choice where they put him almost in, like he's almost exactly in center frame every time that he shows. And like there's just a lot of like really dynamic lighting from beneath him. The camera almost always, like, it's very subtle, but whenever he's in frame, the camera is almost always pushing forward towards him and then stopping when he enters frame. It's really cool. Like, it just sets the tone for all of his scenes, right? So even though I don't necessarily agree with his inclusion in the first place, I think the scenes themselves are really well shot.
Yeah, I do enjoy the lighting. Like, it's like a bright, almost dawn when he shows up and you see his silhouette. But we got to cut back because the rebels don't believe Jin.
Yeah, for some reason.
And they're like, well, what if it's not enough? It's a trap. Why can't we believe her? A bunch of different reasons. And then we get a kind of, hey, all these background characters are going to come join us. Hey, we could all go in one ship. And little droid humor, I'll be there for you because I have to be, type thing.
Like the Friends theme song?
The what?
I'll be
Just 'cause it's
there
a-
for you.
Just because it's a theme song, don't make it not true.
But yeah, she is made up with the rebels who killed her dad.
She's because the plot demands her to be, dude.
And they get ready to fly off. We got to go. They're going to board, pulling away. And then we get this scene with Mon Mothra and Organa. There's her Jedi. This scene doesn't need to be here. Your friend, your Jedi, I'm going to go back. I trust my daughter.
At this point, Mason, I think you, like, it sounds like you're mispronouncing the names on purpose.
I probably do not know them.
It sounds like you said Organa.
What is it actually?
Organa.
Organa.
In fairness, Mason can't even get Kevin Feige's name right. So he's probably just doing it honestly.
I can pronounce Kevin Feige just like you guys do. But we go to Scarif. I'm now going to mispronounce every proper name throughout the rest of this. So get ready.
To your credit, the names in this movie sound like STD. Like, Scarif just sounds like
I mean, Star Wars names are stupid. It's no big deal, but it's just hilarious. Like, it sounds like at this point like a Tim and Eric.
My dad trying to talk about Star Wars. Like, yeah, that's the Bail Organa and that Darth Vader, right?
And I think Pikachu shows up at one point.
Kevin Feige is making the next one, right?
Oh my god. So they're gonna fly. Jin discovers that her necklace is actually a little kyber crystal.
This is also where the movie gets awesome, by the way, is this third act.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a beautiful shot of them landing on this island oasis. Crystal blue waters. It's got like a kind of a concentric circles coming out from this antenna radar military base type place. And there's like this shield that actually closes on top and stuff. A lot of little cool technology that's happening here, kind of showing what maybe a future security system would look like. She gives a motivational speech to everybody, which okay.
Seems it's a little weird considering the character has really had
no time to like get invested in the rebel cause.
And no one
It's
seems
just-
to like or trust her.
And also, they just killed her dad.
Yeah, so it's definitely, while this is the best part, it is definitely like a little bit more lighthearted, at least at the very beginning.
The whole movie. All right, Jamie.
Hold on, you go first. I'll go second.
The whole movie is basically just one giant excuse to get these characters in this third act.
Yeah,
Like it very much was this is what we're talking about, Disney, the Marvel thing. Like, this movie wasn't a general idea. This wasn't like someone who was like, I have a really good idea for a story that could tie into something. It was like, no, we need a story for how they got the Death Star plans, and figure out the rest. Work backwards.
the what I will tack on to that is this part of the movie is pretty cool, but I also don't think it's because of like the writing or there's like any interesting character developments that happen. It's fun to see all your Star Wars toys get mashed together like in some sort of weird it's like when you were a kid and you would like get all your like Star Wars battleships out and like ram them into each other. That's basically what this last act of the movie is, and it's pretty fun.
It's the right kind of like, we're going full Star Wars here, rather than just
You ever go full Star Wars?
here's a character you remember.
But
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just describing the scene. If you want to add something,
There is it comes a little bit later, but I wanted to talk a bit about Back to the Ranch storytelling, because that's not only like a hallmark of George Lucas's directing style, it's also like a hallmark of like Star Wars as a genre style, where the third act has a lot of like back and forth cutting between different moments of tension. Like we cut back and forth between what's going on the ground, what's going on in the air, and then what's happening with each of the individual characters. And I want to say that it kind of works in this movie, because the issue with it in some of the Star Wars movies where it doesn't work, like we're going to use Revenge of the Sith as an example, is we're cutting between moments where the tension is all equal. Whereas in like Revenge of the Sith, the Back to the Ranch storytelling happens during the duels between Anakin and Obi-Wan and Yoda and Palpatine. And in those scenes, we're seeing two characters who like have all this emotional buildup and emotional connection to, and Anakin and Obi-Wan finally like fight. This is like their climactic battle where all of their like conflict with each other plays out physically. And then we're cutting from that to two characters who like have never spoken and like we've never really seen together on screen in Yoda and Palpatine. It's just weird to me. It kind of sucks all of the energy out of one half of the cut while adding nothing to the other. Whereas in this movie, I think not only is the cutting like good because all of the tension is spread out equally between all of the characters, the cutting is also really fast paced and there's a lot of action happening, so it kind of adds to the frantic sort of war movie feel of this act of the movie. That's my
yeah, I agree with that. I agree with the tension and how everything. And I feel like I appreciate it more this movie because, spoiler, it does not end 100% happily, and so things start going wrong for everyone all at one time.
Wait, hold on. We're spoiling this movie?
Joe, I thought you were supposed to rewatch this movie before we discussed it, Joe. Are you telling me you didn't do your homework?
I've never seen this movie.
I'm sorry. wait. They all die?
What? Even the black guy?
Especially the black guy who died
What?
1 hour
Darth
into the
Vader
movie.
dies?
Dude, hold
You
on.
killed the black guy?
Dude, just pulling that.
We're gonna assault the tower now. We got different people, explosions, military bases, troops running around. Little humor with the droid. Vader's talking about showing up. They need to speak to this loose cannon admiral back on the rebel base. Everyone decides that they're going to go help, and then that's when we get "May the Force be with you," with everyone taking off to go there. Back on our.
This is another moment that I like have an issue with from like just an expository standpoint. I wish we had gotten shots of like Vader saying that he was going to head to the other. Like they make a reference to some rebellion general that's like heading there to fight, and I wish we had just seen the characters make exposit to us some dialogue. I don't know. Maybe I'm putting too much into it.
I can understand that.
Jamie just said.
Oh, he faded out towards the end. His volume got lower and lower.
Sorry.
It's okay. I agree with your general point. I kind of almost wish there's a scene back on Mustafar, and you see Vader like back in his tent or his little capsule or whatever, and you just see like his actual just naked face eyes. You see him open and it just drains, and he is getting his suit on, so he's clearly going somewhere.
Yeah. I just it's because the battle itself was really well shot. I just wish we understood how and why all of the major players got there. We do understand it. I don't know. I just wish it was relayed to us in a way that was less expository, and we actually got to see, literally watch the characters make all the decisions and get into. I think that would have been pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Then we get people showing up. We get a little red leader. Little callback as the X-Wings and the Rebellion show up. We have to go take down a shield thingy, so we're gonna have to climb. They begin fighting. They're fighting AT walkers. They're ATSTs or ATATs. I don't remember which one's which.
There's a shot where one of them comes out of some I guess fog or a smoke that's gathered on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm. The Rebellion actually looks pretty good put together. The droid says that they're going to stay behind and shut a door to help out, and kind of begins getting shot and shooting back and starts begin holding off a small Thermopylae style hallway. Rebellion is fighting. We got people on the beach. Aerial battle. Droid still holding the line. Then we get Jamie's favorite moment where she says it's Stardust.
I like that a lot. Until I don't.
And everyone, the droid's getting more and more shot up, and he's kind of doing some last actions. Falls over, and I feel sad. I felt super sad when the droid died.
Yeah, it's probably the most affecting death scene in the whole.
Yeah.
Because I think when K2SO dies, I think that's really well. The tension kind of builds, and then he sacrifices himself, but it's a cool moment. And then I like the shot of Jin and Cassian when they're sort of engulfed by the explosion from the Death Star. I like that a lot. Tarut and Baze's death, their deaths just kind of, they don't have any energy to them. The characters just kind of go out and die. Yeah. And the pilot's death is so fucking funny. Literally, he's sitting there, he's doing the shit with the communications tower, and they toss a grenade in, and he whips his head and looks at the grenade, and I deadass thought the Seinfeld theme was about to play. The grenade just lands and just do 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 do. It's such a poorly cut moment.
I'll add that in editing.
Please do.
But yeah, so things begin. They start taking a little turn for the worse. We have Chirrut go out there, and he's feeling around, and he's just saying the Force is with him, and he doesn't get shot at all. Which is weird because is he using the Force to affect the minds of every trooper so they don't hit him?
I thought it was I thought the way I took it is because it's a sequence that doesn't really work well visually, but what I took it was the Force was guiding him the right way, the way through the path he could walk without being shot because he's blind. But I feel there was a better way, they could have communicated that with the actual imagery than they did.
Mm-hmm. If he had maybe taken a stop at one point and then he kind of walks to the right or something.
Or if there had been some smoke or something on the battlefield so the stormtroopers couldn't exactly see where they're shooting. Because right now it's just, he sort of just walks out into the open and they all...
Yeah. The Y bombers take down one of the destroyers. The pilot hasn't died yet. I'm kind of waiting for the moment right now. Rogue One. They have the transmission open. He gets the guys to get ready for the beacons, and he thanks Galen, and so he actually, I feel like every character scene as we're going through the titch is actually important too. Yeah, he just watches the grenade, so I'll make sure to make a little Adobe Premiere scene where, and then I'll throw the credits over it.
Larry David.
Baze kind of says the force is with me, and he kind of goes in a little tirade, killing a bunch of them until he's finally brought down.
Leroy Jenkins style.
Yeah, the Hammerhead is actually able to push a Star Destroyer, which is a cool.
That's a cool moment, and so this is another moment where I talk about where like we can see something happening visually, and like audiences aren't dumb. Like viewers are savvy; they can see that the Star Destroyer's power is down. But after we see that, we cut inside to the bridge of the Star Destroyer, and they're like, our engines have failed. And I guess that's fine. But then again, we cut to the inside of a Rebel cruiser, and the Admiral goes, that Star Destroyer's not functioning or something. And it's like, we've established this. We don't have to see that 3 times.
Right. Yep.
I think you're giving some audience members too.
By this time, one is going to the bathroom, one is at the bathroom, and one is coming back from the bathroom. So that's why they say it 3 times.
It's just it was a little. It was a weird like screenwriting moment.
And then we get a scene with Jen. She's on top lining the radar dish, and she's got to go across like a little catwalk to actually do it. And the TIE fighter that was there in the trailer isn't there, which was I guess an editing choice.
Well, no, they actually changed that scene in the rewrites. That scene actually does.
Yeah, because the movie it went through like pretty extensive reshoots.
Yeah,
Yes.
It got reshot like significantly compared to most reshoots.
Yeah, like
It feels like a cohesive film, though, at least.
yeah. I don't think I have my issues with the film, but I think the reshoots were done for a good reason. I don't think it's one of those instances where like a movie is just so much of a mess, like Batman v Superman, where like they just had to, or not Batman v Superman, it's Justice League that went through all the reshoots, right?
Yeah.
Where like just nothing coherent comes out of it.
Snyder cut, baby.
God, what's his name? Crafen. No, that's not it.
Ooh, what the fuck?
Fucking Ben Mendelsohn's character.
Yes.
Krennic.
Give us the time.
It's 2 syllables.
He shows up and he's got the gun and he's going to shoot her, but then that gets racket a little bit and God damn, there's too many characters in this movie. Cassian
Yes.
shows up. He's not dead. Yay! While everyone else was dying, so I felt that was kind of earned because I thought he was dead. They get the plans. The target says to target the base. They're just going to blow it up. And we get a cool scene of it being shot. We get an actual, this time, tidal wave. We get not Admiral, Captain Akbar or whatever he is, or whoever this is at this point, saying, "May the Force be with you." All aliens look the same to me.
Jesus.
I am a humanocentric.
Yeah, I'm starting to see why you made that comment about how Jen hates all aliens at the beginning of the film. Like, I think
Maybe I was placing my biases on her character. Humanity first, baby. Am I right? Hello, N7.
Did you say
What's up with the Costco 11-year-old? Is he watching?
No, I don't think he is. Oh, that's sad. I miss him. Go back to we get a little scene on the beach. I like that they just hold hands and embrace.
That whole moment, like, as thin as those characters are, like, that shot is just genuinely affecting. Like, where they're, like, hugging each other and then they just kind of get consumed by, like, the light.
We do get one Vader line, prepare the boarding party. And they get engulfed by the atomic, I think the audio description actually calls this like an atomic explosion mushroom cloud type thing. And then we get Joe's favorite part of the movie.
think it's
Sorry,
everybody's
the Star Wars universe.
Troopers flee to an airlock door. As they try, it locks. The corridor grows dark. The rebel troopers aim their blasters into the darkness. A red lightsaber ignites to reveal Darth Vader standing before them. The Sith Lord easily bats away and reflects their laser blast as he stomps forward. Vader uses the Force to throw a man to the ceiling. He slashes the man on the ceiling, then draws the blasters out of the remaining troopers' hands and begins cutting them down. As he remotely strangles another man, the data card gets passed through the door's gap. The lightsaber stabs through the door and opens up. And that's the scene, is audio description of Darth Vader, who, and Brandon and Joe and I have talked about this a little bit before. I kind of wish he was treated like Jaws throughout the rest of the movie. Like, you didn't see him until right now when the red lightsaber shoots up.
That's a cool idea. Yeah.
But it is, he is, I don't know, I would have liked if he was an ever-present threat in the background, but this scene right here is, I agree with you guys, is a fantastic, it's terror-inducing, it is almost like Star Wars horror, as he is an unstoppable force, and he is coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's really well shot. It's really well choreographed. They do the thing I was talking about where, like, at the beginning of the scene, there's just darkness, and then the camera, like, slowly pushes forward, and it stops, and the lightsaber ignites. It's really cool. It's really well cut.
Yeah, we see, and then you have they're all using their blasters on him, and then he deflects them, and then so the only trooper with a blaster turns away to try to get the door open, and then he realizes he can't, so that's why he turns around and uses his blaster at close range. But by then it's too late. Really great. And then we get him standing on a balcony, and he kind of puts his lightsaber back in. And
There is. Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
There is something interesting. This doesn't have anything to do with the actual scene itself, but I do find it interesting how the movie kind of continues after the protagonist is dead. Like, I wonder if, because like the way the film starts with that scene at the beginning, and I'm starting to see your issue with it because it doesn't really have any bearing on establishing Jyn as like the audience perspective character, if that makes sense, because we continue to see events long after she's dead. I wonder if that, like, she wasn't supposed to be the protagonist, like the film was sort of protagonist-less before they began reshoots and rewrites, and if like adding that scene in was something that came out of that, because it is weird how the movie kind of sets Jyn up to be the main character, and then after she dies, it just kind of continues on.
Yeah, it felt like to me like the main character was supposed to be the one line we get in A New Hope that at great cost, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
We got these players.
All of them.
Yeah, and so it was. I don't know. It almost felt like to be like this group should have been together far earlier.
I guess it is kind of a big complaint. I wouldn't say it's a nitpick, but yeah, it's weird. Anyway, that Darth Vader scene is pretty fucking dope.
Fucking dope. And with that, that is the end of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I think I actually got it right.
Yeah, that's the time.
All right, JB, you are a guest star. So,
Am I?
yes, or a permanent new star. Either way, at the very end, you name your favorite thing about the movie, your least favorite thing about the movie, and you give it a score out of 10.
My favorite thing about the movie is a tie between Ben Mendelsohn's performance as Director Krennic and the shot at the very end where Jyn Erso and Cassian die.
You have to pick one.
I have to pick one. It's Ben Mendelsohn's character, Krennic. And my least favorite moment, my least favorite thing about the movie is the characters. I think they're really thinly written. And a score on a scale of 1 to 10. Are we going to do the Your Movie Sucks thing and say it's a 6 out of 10, but it's closer to a 7 than a 5.
So your rating's a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
Okay, Joe, I feel like you haven't gone second in a while, so you go second.
All right. So obviously my favorite thing about this movie is Darth Vader just going absolute batshit crazy on everybody who deserved it. Rebel scum. And my least favorite is probably the underuse of Galen, it's Jyn Erso's father. I think he's a very interesting character and could have been really built. I always felt, especially with the backgrounds, it's where I do agree where the scene going back in time doesn't really. It gives you a story starting point, but it never really goes anywhere from there. Other than the one cutscene where they're all drinking, like, I guess, celebrating a scientific breakthrough.
Yeah, that's who you're talking.
But I definitely that's probably one of my least favorite things. To give it something out of a 10, I don't think it's Revenge of the Sith. I don't think it's I don't think it's The Empire Strikes Back. But I think in my rankings, it's my third favorite Star Wars movie. At this juncture, I give it a solid 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 is also what you gave Sith. Just so you know.
Yes. Well, we have to give solid numbers here.
That's right.
I can't. If I was to give like Revenge of the Sith something for real, I'd probably be like it's an 8.9. But I can't do that. You won't let us.
That's right.
You won't let us.
Decisiveness. I'll go third. Definitely favorite thing is if Joe's gonna. Well, yeah, the end where Vader shows up and going absolutely ham has got to be up there. It's great. It's horror inducing. It makes you scared for a moment. If Joe's gonna take that, then my favorite thing would probably be. My favorite thing about this movie, it is the moral greatness then of the rebellion. That the rebellion isn't full of good guys. They are a terrorist organization, and they have to be, to achieve their political goals against an empire. And so it does make you a tiny bit sympathetic towards that. But they assassinate, they rob, they order military strikes against civilian scientists. And yes, they do say it's for the greater good, but real life terroristic groups who have a not so stopping the Death Star goal also say it's for the greater good. So I really enjoy that political message in there. My least favorite thing.
Luke Skywalker is the Bin Laden of.
Yes, we'll get to that in the next movie. My least favorite thing is going to be CGI Tarkin. Because he represents the unnecessary fan service that's in this movie. Not only is it not needed, it is badly done.
I 100% agree with it.
Yeah, it's and it's a shame. I think Tarkin's a great character. This doesn't ruin him. I'm in the comics. Tarkin is actually super interesting because he actually hunts Darth Vader at one point. And it's a great storyline, so I'd be open to seeing Tarkin in a Vader Netflix series or something like that. But the CGI does age badly.
I think you should just get somebody else to play him, hire another actor.
Exactly. Hire another actor for young Tarkin. Out of 10, I gave Solo a 6 out of 10. The ending for this movie almost raises it by itself. And so, watching it again, the humor in it's definitely much more to my taste. So I don't know if it's a better movie than Solo, but I enjoyed it more than Solo, and so I'll give it a 7 out of 10. And Brandon?
As far as favorite things, there's a bunch of little moments, that are essentially fan service that are great, like the Darth Vader scene. But I think overall, what I like is that in the third act, it fully becomes the Star Wars video game type fantasy. I like that. There's it's just an excuse to have an action set piece. We don't need the biggest stakes. We know the outcome, but it's just fun to watch it happen. I really like how everything's shot in the very end. I think it plays to its strength as an action movie the best. As far as worst thing, I think I'm gonna have to go with what are you looking at, guy, or whatever. That fucking because that moment in the theater like took me out of the movie. Like it actively made me start thinking about the other movie. Like, okay, so this takes place like 2 days before that other movie. What planet are we on right now? Because they've introduced us to 6 of them. I can't remember which planet we're on at the moment. But how did he go from there just happily in like 2 days? Like coincidentally, he doesn't die in the big fight that happens in the street where bodies are flying everywhere.
They're setting up
Like-
their solo movie.
It's just
The Star Wars story.
their Disney Plus series.
It's the equivalent of someone who didn't get on a plane on 9/11. Just
Yes, basically. It.
Hey,
Yeah.
just real quick on those 2 guys. They were almost in The Force Awakens, and they're definitely in the novel.
oh
If you
god,
remember.
that.
Oh my god.
Well, we don't read the books on this podcast, thankfully.
Yeah.
Oh, I have.
I
Unfortunately.
feel like that is.
Dude, you could have told me about that before I read the official novelization for Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Tell me, Jamie, what was your favorite part of the novelization of Rogue One, a Star Wars story?
Probably the just hard orgy like that happens between planets, where they like go into great detail describing K2SOs, sort of like robot. That is my favorite.
And this is a PG-13 book?
No. It's almost.
Radar.
It's AO.
Territory, baby.
It's kind of like how it's kind of like how It kept the big, the 8-year-old orgy out of the movie.
Yeah, I'm
Oh
so
my
That's
glad.
definitely the book.
But out of 10, Brandon.
I think for different reasons, this is on par with Solo. So I think I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of
That's what
10.
I gave Solo. They're both fine. Like they both definitely don't really need to exist, but in the state that they do, they're good.
Yeah, they are enjoyable films that you can sit down and watch.
Yeah, and I feel like it's all you really have to be, which is fine.
Most audiences agree with us. I think officially on IMDb it has a 7.8 out of 10 with 500,000 votes. It is the 35th highest grossing film of all time. It was 20th at its release. It was the second highest grossing film of 2016.
Wait. You said it's the 35th highest grossing movie of all time?
That is correct.
Is that only domestically?
What? No, that's worldwide.
Worldwide? So that sounds a little low. It sounds like it would be up in the top, like, 15.
Well, it was in the top 20 when it was released, but Lion King, Frozen 2, Toy Story 4, Joker,
Marvel movie.
yeah.
Joker outgrossed this?
Yes, Joker. Oh,
Out of
wait.
curiosity, what is it? What does it have on Rotten Tomatoes? Like, I don't remember what critics have on this movie. Does it have a high percent?
Give me 1 second. Rogue One on Rotten Tomatoes.
Score.
It has an 83% on the tomato meter and an 86% on the audience score.
So it was pretty well received when it came out.
Yeah. But yeah, Transformers: Age of Extinction has it beat out. Despicable Me 3, Aladdin, Minions. I'm looking for a really good one. The Last Jedi is the 14th highest ranking film, or highest worldwide gross.
Yeah.
Black Panther, Lion King, Infinity War, Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Titanic, Avatar, Endgame.
Can't wait for Avatar 2, baby.
It's gonna blow your
Guessing
fucking
this
mind.
is not judging for inflation because we all know Gone with the Wind's really the goat.
Inflation's not real.
Well, actually.
When you take into account purchasing powers and the unsaturated media, that the fact that the United States was only the first only developed country that could really enjoy films in the early 1930s, it's a super racist thing to say, Joe.
Well, that's me.
It's more about
It's actually it's
Like, Two
historicalist.
movies.
Yeah.
You had that movie at every theater for like 3 fucking years solid. Like that was the only movie to see.
No, it was because it was about Atlanta and Georgia.
That is
And
true.
That's why.
Sherman's March. And Sherman's March.
So we this one was an hour and 30 minutes altogether. At least our recording podcast time. I think that's a little bit shorter than the actual movie.
Yeah, it is. That movie's like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
It
Anything
was
else?
longer than Solo.
Yeah, we breezed through Solo. We absolutely breezed through Solo. Anything else before we end the recording?
Head over to my Mixer channel tonight. I'll be giving out coupon codes for shark cards on GTA 5. And we're going to join the vigilante scene and become Batman.
Yeah, if this video gets 1 like, we will have Jamie back as a recurring guest star. If it gets 1 dislike, we will murder him. For your entertainment. No, but we look forward to having you back, Jamie. I think that's it for everything. Yeah, we'll be doing A New Hope next time. And 3, 2, 1.